I'm Henry Lee, and I'm the director of the Environment and Natural Resource Program at the Belfer Center, one of the sponsors of this seminar, along with the Mosabar Rahmani Center for Business and Government and the Harvard University Center for the Environment. Let me open with a few reminders regarding logistics. We are recording the seminar and we'll post it on the seminar series webpage. And if you have a friend or a colleague who missed this talk, please let them know that they can watch it later. We will have live closed captioning available for those who may wish to use it. And there's a button at the bottom of your Zoom screen that will turn the closed captioning on. And we will take questions through the Q&A function in Zoom. Please click on it at the bottom of your screen and submit your questions at any time during this seminar. I'm very pleased today to introduce Dan Schrag, who is the professor of environmental science and engineering at Harvard University. He's the director of the University Center for the Environment and the co-director of the Kennedy School's Science, Technology, and Public Policy program. Dan has agreed to moderate this discussion today, so over to you, Dan.
Thank you, Henry. And before we start, let me just say, this is our final energy policy seminar of the semester and of the academic year. And there's a huge thanks to Henry Lee, of course, who has been hosting this all year, but also to Amanda Sardonis, who behind the scenes has really been the force behind all of this. And we owe Amanda a huge thank you. And we couldn't have done this without you. So thank you, Amanda. It is a pleasure to introduce my friend, Andy Hoffman, to this community. Andy is the Holcim Professor of Sustainable Enterprise at the University of Michigan. He holds joint appointments in the Ross School of Business and also at the School of Environment and Sustainability. On his bio, it says that Andy Hoffman is a leader in using organizational network and strategic analyses to assess the implications of environmental issues for business. And that's certainly true. Andy's incredibly prolific. He's published over, I think 18 books and too many articles to count, but he's so much more than that. To me, Andy Hoffman is really one of the global thought leaders on how to think about the ethics, the morality of climate change in the context of business. And this is an area that 10 years ago, I think, wasn't getting much attention at all. As we see businesses all over the world begin to step up and engage on climate change more and more, I think Andy's writings over the last 2 decades are going to become absolutely at the center of our conversation about how we manage this problem in the future. And today he's going to talk to us about his thoughts. What does it mean to be a fossil fuel company in the context of this transition? So Andy, it's my great pleasure to have you, well, here virtually. I hope we can remedy this and have you here in person soon.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. Thank you, Henry. Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, everybody, for this invitation. That should queue up. Okay, so I'm going to go for like 25 minutes and try and set up what I hope will be an interesting conversation, because I think there's some interesting questions before us. This whole idea started when I was invited to a session by Dan and Henry with some folks at BP. And I had to give commentary or some provocations on what is expected of an oil company in the present day world. And my answer was they should preside over the demise of their industry. I want to give a more refined answer in this talk because I've been working with Douglas Ely, who one of my students, on really around the question of how can the oil industry, how can the fossil fuel industry bring about a just and orderly transition to help us deal with this tremendous problem that we're facing around climate change. And presently we are going through a very disordered transition. So the question is, how can we manage this better? These remarks will be aimed at business leaders, but also because I'm a business school professor, they'll be aimed at future business leaders, business students. And I'm thinking about this in the context of how we might augment their education to help them be better prepared to deal with these kinds of issues. I think there are 2 reasons why this should be included in the curriculum. One, Obviously, it will benefit society if we can figure out a way to transition away from fossil fuels to deal with the climate change issue. But two, I think it will actually benefit the curriculum. I think about analogy, what would be the best way to learn how to work on or how an internal combustion engine works? Well, you take it apart. And if any of you on this call have ever done that, I'm sure you learned a lot more about how that engine works than by just trying to maintain it when it acts up. And so if we could teach business students how to end an industry in a managed way, I think their knowledge of how to run a business will be much stronger. So what I'm going to do in this talk is really around two pieces. The first is, what kind of model and metaphor might we use for thinking about bringing about the end of an industry? And for that, Doug and I are borrowing from the ideas around compassionate care for a patient who is sick or dying. And we'll use three models: triage, euthanasia, and hospice. And what we want to do is sort of augment the idea of creative destruction. Joseph Schumpeter wrote about creative destruction back in the 40s. And that is the idea that capitalism constantly reinventing itself through this kind of process of creative destruction, that it's constantly mutating and new ideas, new technologies come in that replace the old. We want to add a piece, maybe augment this, around compassionate destruction. Because the fact is, when we're talking about the end of an industry, we could be talking about any number of industries, but none is so fundamental and core to our economy than the fossil fuel sector. So the idea that we can just let the processes play out, I'm not sure is going to get us there. And so what we need to think about is how to hasten this process, how to manage it, how to do it thoughtfully. And that's what we want to talk about. So we have our three models. And then secondly, I'm going to try and give some concrete steps on how we might do this. If I was going to design a course on how to do this, what might be the different sessions of that course to help us understand the complexity of the challenge? And it is an extremely complex challenge. And so that's what we're going to do today. To begin, if you're going to do triage, euthanasia, or hospice with a patient, the first thing you need to do is get the patient and all those connected to the patient to come to terms with the idea that that patient is very sick and needs extreme, if not terminal care. And so that is the challenge we face with the fossil fuel sector. Does the patient understand that there is a serious problem here that requires extreme, if not terminal care? I think not. I think that we are still working on that, and I will offer four pieces of that argument. The first is the full scope of the problem. Climate change is not an environmental issue. It's not a pollution issue. It's a systems breakdown that requires a systemic solution to be dealt with. When people talk about climate pollution or carbon pollution, I often struggle with that idea, because what we're talking about is altering the global climate, altering the systems of the earth, altering the systems that scientists have proposed are present in the Anthropocene. In the middle there, you have the graph of the planetary boundaries. We are crossing 4 of them: nitrogen, phosphorus, land systems change, biosphere integrity, climate change, actually 5, sorry, and novel entities has recently been added to that piece. I love this quote by Stephen Jay Gould, a Harvard professor, passed away, but he says, "We have become, by the glorious power of a glorious evolutionary accident called intelligence, the stewards of life's continuity on Earth. We did not ask for this role, but we cannot abjure it. We may not be suited to it, but here we are." And that captures nicely the scope of the problem. We don't know what we're doing, and we have to figure out a way out of this. And so right now, fossil fuel companies are powering the economy. That is true. And we are facing the consequences of that activity. Estimates are that if we burn the proven reserves of oil, gas, and coal, we'll release 2,795 gigatons of carbon dioxide, more than 5 times the estimated limit that we need to stay below 2 degrees centigrade. The costs of this by 2100 range as high as $22 trillion. There's a lot of money involved here. This is a systems breakdown. And so I think we're faced with a pragmatic and a moral issue. The pragmatic issue, we have to stop burning fossil fuels. It's that simple. The carbon budget just can't handle it, and we have to figure a way out of this. There's also a moral issue as well that I'd like to bring in. And Dwayne Elgin captures it quite nicely when he wrote, "When will humanity express its moral outrage that it is wrong to devastate an entire planet for countless generations to come, just to satisfy the consumer desires of a fraction of humanity for a single lifetime?" And I think that really captures the moral component of this. So we have a serious problem with the patient in terms of the scope of the problem. We also have a problem in terms of the limited scope of the solutions. And so a lot of work has been focused on a carbon price, and this is a very important component to solving this problem. But a carbon price is often calculated separate from planetary systems. And planetary systems are changing at a very rapid pace. This is something that comes up with my students all the time. The economy can adjust, but is it adjusting fast enough to deal with the planetary changes that are around us? And so there's some problems with the pace and the scale and the scope of a carbon price, and whether that carbon price will focus on a fundamental transition of the economy or more incremental changes, more eco-efficiency. We are facing tipping points and irreversibility, some problems on the bottom right. We have the Kuznets curve that as we increase per capita income, we're going to have more environmental problems. Then we pass a turning point and we can start to address them. That doesn't work if there are tipping points or problems that can't be reversed. And a lot of the ideas around carbon price and around the idea of leaving the economy as is are based on the win-win, that we can do well by doing good, that we can make a lot of money and deal with the climate crisis. Yes, you can make money, but there are some win-lose situations that have to be addressed, and the win-wins will not be evenly distributed. So within economic policy domains, I think we still have to deal with the idea that we have a terminally ill patient. Within business strategy, if you look in the fossil fuel sector, there's a lot of hopes being pinned on carbon capture and sequestration, and I hope the technology works out. If it doesn't, and we've pinned all our hopes on that, have we shot ourselves in the foot? I think a backup plan is necessary. And in fact, when you look at what oil companies are doing around carbon neutral goals, many oil companies have set goals to go carbon neutral, and they're typically doing it without scope 3 emissions. And without scope 3 emissions, we're really not dealing with the problem. And so within business strategy, again, we have a challenge with the patient. And then finally, with business school education, this is what I know best. And student demand is growing. There's a lot of interest in this among students, a lot of students asking questions about the nature of capitalism, the purpose of the firm. And schools are adjusting. I'm seeing a lot of business schools developing programs that deal with these issues. But again, they're focused on opportunity. They're focused on win-win. They're focusing on economic opportunity. What about the win-lose? And are we preparing students for dealing with those kinds of questions and leading to, are we teaching students how to manage a just and orderly transition? And so with all these on the table, and we can discuss these, can we come to terms with the idea that the patient needs to be addressed in a very, very critical way? And we might say that the patient is not just the fossil fuel sector, but it's the entire economy, because the fossil fuel sector undergirds it. And so how do we think about adjusting the economy, not throwing it out, but adjusting it to deal with the kind of problems that we're facing? There's the challenge before us. Let me offer 3 metaphors of how we might deal with our patient. Number 1, triage. Sorting to identify and prioritize treatment given the limitations of the current situation, the mission and available resources. And so how do we do this? How might you think of this? Well, Third Point, an activist investor at Shell, has proposed that the company break in 2, that you have the fossil fuel legacy assets, and then you have future assets moving towards renewables, alternative forms of energy that don't release carbon dioxide. Cutting off the sick limb so that the rest of the patient can survive. Can that be done? AGL as well in Australia is talking about closing 2 coal-fired power plants. It's being, their quarters trying to buy it to close the plants and transition the company into something else. We're getting rid of the sick limb to save the healthy piece of it. And then the organization becomes something fundamentally different. Is that the model we should use? A second model, euthanasia, the act or practice of killing or permitting the death hopelessly sick or injured individuals in a relatively painless way. This is all about being compassionate. And so when we were thinking about this model, we were reminded that John Maynard Keynes wrote one time that we have to practice euthanasia on the rentier class of society. And if we have a situation where one sector of the economy is making money, extracting rents, but costing the rest of the economy more money in terms of the climate impacts, is it time for euthanasia? That's a very interesting question, because right now, in many ways, parts of the fossil fuel sector at least are resisting the idea that we have a problem. When, for example, Russia invaded Ukraine, literally within hours, the American Petroleum Institute petitioned the White House to open up federal lands for more drilling to maintain our energy independence, our energy security. Is that what we're dealing with, is a patient that will not accept the future that they face? Similarly, if you look at many oil companies are looking at the demise or the reduction, serious reduction in automotive fuels as the car fleet becomes electrified. And what are they moving towards? They're moving towards plastics. And plastic production is ramping up rapidly. And that's just problem displacement. If you think about the planetary boundaries, we're moving away from the climate change wedge or planetary boundary and moving into novel entities, releasing plastics into the atmosphere or into the environment in ways that are causing serious problems. And so euthanasia may be necessary to bring about the end. Or is the answer hospice, providing comprehensive comfort care as well as support for the family, but in hospice, attempts to cure the person's illness are stopped? Is that what we're dealing with? And I find this a very interesting metaphor, because the conversation has been engaged. People are talking about this, about how and whether we bring the fossil fuel sector to an end as we know it. And it's including many within the fossil fuel sector itself, of really recognizing that the model that we have right now, it cannot keep on going. We have to start to thinking about, again, a just and orderly transition. So with those three models on the table, and I'm going through very quickly, I just want to walk through what are the questions that come about when we start to think about bringing about the end of the fossil fuel sector as we know it, shifting the economy as we know it, through any one of these three metaphors. Well, here's the course. Here's a blueprint for business education. The first is managing business strategy. And the first question is corporate leadership to bring about the end of the entire sector. And this is very important, because it's not just the oil majors that we're talking about. There's a lot of nation states involved, whether it's Saudi Arabia or Russia or Venezuela. How do we bring everyone to the table in order to deal with this issue? This is a very challenging a problem that we have to deal with. If one oil company chooses to stop producing oil, others will just fill the gap. Will they be as scrupulous as the ones that step down? Corporate leadership has to be bringing everybody to the table to deal with this. Number two, how do you think about the workers, and how do you avoid flight during a transition? The actual number of people employed in the oil industry vary depending on how you measure it, anywhere from 1 to 2.6 million people. In the United States, the Bureau of Labor Statistics estimates that 133,000 people work in oil and gas extraction. About 565,000 work in mining, quarrying, and oil and gas extraction. And so as that sector declines, what's going to happen to these people? You can't just leave them on their own. You know, we have problems in coal mining towns in West Virginia and other places where they're having serious problems with economic decline, towns going into collapse, depression, opioid problems, suicides. So how do we manage the equitable component of this to deal with the workers, some who can transition, some who will get left behind? How do we deal with that? And then third, how do we overcome political and social resistance? There's a lot of people getting angry over the idea of ending the fossil fuel sector. ALEC is introducing policies to blacklist firms that boycott the oil industry. The Texas Lieutenant Governor, Dan Patrick, wrote to the state comptroller that, quote unquote, if Wall Street turns their backs on Texas and our thriving oil and gas industry, then Texas will not do business with Wall Street. There's a tremendous political and social component to this that has to be addressed. The second piece, managing the broader economic impacts. How do you manage the full scope of the economic impact of the transition. Right now, the total revenue of the US oil and gas industry has reached about $110 billion. Global revenues reached about $2.1 trillion. How do you handle that? The top 10 oil companies in the world enjoy a market cap of $3.3 trillion. 60 of the world's largest commercial and investment banks have collectively invested $3.8 trillion in fossil fuels. And the industry paid out a total of $32 billion in dividends to individuals, retirement plans, foreign shareholders, and other businesses in 2011. How do you bring that to an end in a very careful and managed way? This is not an insignificant challenge we're facing. That doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Number 5, how do we control the fate of the products, both used and unused? There are presently 1.65 trillion barrels of proven oil reserves in the world, which accounts for about 46.6 times the world's annual consumption levels and will last at least another 50 years. How do you leave that in the ground? How do you do that in a way that doesn't promote a black market? How do you do that in a way that doesn't disadvantage developing countries that may need that oil in order to bring themselves into a state of economic development that they have a right to enjoy? How do you do this in an equitable way? Number 6, how do you protect the indirect workers in related industries? In the US, the fossil fuel industry provides upwards of 7.2 million jobs through the indirect and induced impacts. For example, the oil and natural gas industry purchases capital goods from a variety of US suppliers, amounting about $177 billion in new equipment and structures. How do you bring that to an end without causing economic calamity? You folks are in Massachusetts, just take a look at towns like Pittsfield. As GE pulled out, it left behind not just losses of jobs for GE, but a lot of associated workers, a lot of associated businesses were impacted pretty strongly. Finally, manage the societal and policy issues. Number 1, maintain justice and equity for all communities. Millions of jobs in the fossil fuel industry could be displaced by 2050, and these displacements will not be even and will impact some community more than others. For example, in Wyoming, nearly 8,400 people are employed in coal, and nearly 68,000 people are employed in natural and gas and oil, providing about 16.6% of jobs in that state. Other states that are heavily dependent on the fossil fuel sector include, in descending order, Oklahoma, North Dakota, Texas, Louisiana, Alaska, New Mexico, and West Virginia. The economies in these states are going to be impacted very strongly by the demise of this sector. And so how do we handle this so we don't turn into a situation much like what was happening when manufacturing jobs left the Midwest and left many cities, Rust Belt cities? How do we do this in an equitable and just way? Number 8, how do we decommission, remediate, and repurpose a vast infrastructure for providing oil? And this is a source of inertia for moving away from the sector and a lot of assets left on the ground. We did a quick calculation. In the US alone, there are 2.6 million miles of pipeline, 129 operable petroleum refineries, thousands of train cars and tanker trucks, approximately 542,000 underground storage tanks and a comparable number of above ground storage tanks, more than 150,000 fueling stations, 95% of which, by the way, are owned by independent operators, and to fuel 287 million registered cars and 38 million trucks. Globally, there are more than 600 operating refineries, 810 very large crude carriers. These are carriers over 2 million barrels of crude oil. How will these assets be sunsetted? How will they be remediated? I used to do work for the Amoco Oil Company, and they got the Whiting Refinery in Indiana. That refinery has an astonishing amount of pollution. They have 3 feet of raw product sitting on top of the water table. How do you close a facility like that? Not easily. And so how will these assets be managed? There is a refinery in Nova Scotia, interestingly enough, that was mothballed and has been bought by a company that is now going to be turned into creating biofuels. So how can we think about turning swords into plowshares here and create jobs in the process? And then finally, and not insignificantly, how do we leverage the role of government? Governments have and must continue to have a critical role in determining both the rate of innovation and shape its direction through a variety of policies and practices. Whether it's subsidies that go into the fossil fuel sector now, which amount to upwards of $400 billion, and how do we transition the economy and provide job training or other kind of benefits for those impacted. Again, all our models of dealing with the patient are not just the patient, but those connected to the patient. And that's an important part of this, all connected to the fossil fuel sector. You can see if we developed a course like this and walk students through the process of examine each one of these questions, one, they'll have a better sense of dealing with the problem that we face. Two, they're going to have a better sense of the tremendously complicated and integrated economy in which we live. Who can argue that going through this would not leave them with a better understanding of how an industry sector works, how the economy works? I think that this course would be very, very beneficial and would add to other courses that are popping up around business schools to amend business school education, to bring them in to deal with the challenges that we face today. Lastly, I would say that it fits within the broader context. We have a lot of conversation being engaged over what is the purpose of the corporation. The Business Roundtable, BlackRock, World Economic Forum entering the debate. We can have a lot of questions about how serious these people are. Some interesting articles coming out of the Harvard Law School, in fact, looking at the members of the Business Roundtable saying, yeah, they signed the statement, but it was signed by the CEO. It didn't go through the board, or it's not affecting the government's documents. So does it mean anything? I don't care. They've said it. The conversation's been engaged, and it's an important conversation to have. Is the purpose of the corporation just to make money for the shareholder? I think we're looking at a lot of pathologies that come out from that singular pursuit that's causing a lot of problems that we face. And so the idea of a company managing the transition to something else, because there's a lot of assets there. We could use our metaphor of compassionate care and hospice and euthanasia to augment it, to say, because also when a patient dies, if you believe in the afterlife, they become something else. If you believe in organ donations, their assets become something else. How can we think about doing this in a careful way so that the assets of those sectors become part of something else? That's a lot to throw at you in a very short period of time, and I thank you for your attention. Let's have a really good discussion about this, because I think this is a very provocative topic that could be a very nice addition to business school education.
Thank you, Andy. You probably don't hear the applause, but I'm sure that it's out there in the abyss. I think I'm sure there are already a bunch of questions online, but before we jump there, I just want to flesh some of the ideas out a little bit, Andy.
Yeah.
So there are a wide variety of views about how long we will actually be dependent on oil.
Yeah.
As you know, we're currently, and let's just focus on oil for a second, because natural gas has different challenges, although it's much less of a climate concern in terms of total magnitude of the problem, at least right now. I think coal also has a different time scale and different set of issues. But in terms of companies, let's focus on oil for a second.
Sure.
The world uses 100 million barrels of oil a day. And if we were to predict from various people how many million barrels a day of oil the world will use in 2050, we get a huge range of numbers. As you say, to keep us under the UNFCCC target of 1.5 or 2 degrees, the answer is by 2050, we better be pretty close to zero. Yeah. My own personal view is that it's unfortunately much likely to be closer to 60 to 80 million barrels a day in 2050. And that's if we're lucky. Given that uncertainty, what kind of latitude do you think a company should have? I mean, the complication is that they are actually providing us an absolutely critical product that we desperately need. The world is dependent on oil. We are absolutely addicted to it. And we are trying to wean ourselves off it, but it's really hard. We see this in the recent, Russian invasion of Ukraine, where the Biden administration has scrambled to secure additional oil supplies. So how do we think about that uncertainty in the context of this question?
Well, I mean, it's an interesting question. We could talk the idea of strong and weak sustainability, Bob Solo's idea that weak sustainability, if we damage the environment, provide a benefit for human beings, that's a trade we should make and let future generations work it out. The problem of irreversibility creates some challenges with that approach. Markets are always uncertain. Who would have predicted 15 or 20 years ago that there would be a new entrant in the auto sector whose market cap would be 10 times that of General Motors? So a lot of black swans between now and then, but we have to start to think about that transition. I mean, am I pessimistic? Yes. But does that mean we shouldn't try? No. When people say that, we have to give me the business case to address climate change, I don't mean this to be snarky, but the moral component of it, that's the same to me as saying, give me the business case not to commit suicide. I hate to be so blunt about it, but we do at some point have to bring in the moral piece of this, that this is the challenge we face as humanity, and how do we move quickly? Even the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we're scrambling to get more fossil fuels, true, because we've got the infrastructure in place and we're dealing with that. At the same time, it is creating greater urgency to get off of fossil fuels. It's creating greater urgency. It's actually interesting in the sense, is this bringing about the end, or at least a severe contraction in the idea of global neoliberalism, that free trade across nations brings stability around the world? I think that COVID started that. And I think that Ukraine is bringing it into stronger relief. And so there's a lot of pressure now that could create some breakthroughs that could get us there. We won't know until we try. But you're highlighting a very pragmatic and serious problem of just numbers, and how are we going to get there?
So we have a lot of questions, and we're going to go through them. But I wanted to just highlight my colleague John Holdren's question. Andy, you've probably know John or have met John, my co-director of the Science Technology Public Policy Program, and professor at Harvard Kennedy School, and also, of course, former science advisor to President Obama for 8 years, which is twice as long as just about any other science advisor. He says, Andy, beautifully constructed and articulated depiction of the challenge. Do we have a prayer? If any one of the major challenges you described does not, in fact, have a solution, the path to success may not exist. I'd start with the challenge of imbuing all the companies with the understanding that there's not a choice, but drastic change.
Yeah. Do we have a prayer? Yeah, I do. I think we do. I mean, hope. When people hear talk like this and say, well, you don't have faith in the economy or human ingenuity, I say the exact opposite. And can human ingenuity deal with this? Is it a monumental challenge? Yes. Are our students interested in it? Yes. Do I have hope that our students can come up with some solutions? Yes, I do. I think that, but if we don't ask the right questions, we won't get the answers we're looking for. And so this is the beginning of asking these questions. I don't know where this is going to go, but we have to start. And that's what I'm trying to do here. Again, I'm seeing in my students at the business school, and I know that students at Harvard are asking the same questions, is what is capitalism? Rebecca Henderson has this course on reimagining capitalism. I offered a similar course at Michigan, and they fill it up. The students are asking, they want to know. And they're asking, to my mind, it's the fundamental questions that we have to go back to, is what is the nature of the economy? What is its purpose? What is the purpose of the corporation? What is the role of the executive in running it? Which, to my mind, if we wanted to branch into a different conversation, would take us down the path of really rethinking the curriculum at our business schools. And some people are starting to bring that conversation up. I'm sitting here in New Orleans at the AACSB conference, which accredits business schools, And in about 2 hours, I'm going to give a talk that's going to do this. It's going to say, you know, we are sitting on the sidelines and not part of the solution, or at least trying to attempt to be part of the solution of the major challenges facing humanity right now. We're teaching people how to run a balance sheet. We're not teaching them how to use that massive power of the corporation to serve society, which is what the corporation is there to do. Make a profit, of course, but not at all costs, with no regard for destroying the planet in which we all depend. And so, John, I hear your concern. I have the same concern. If you really think about this carefully, it'll keep you up at night. But we got to try. We got to start. And I'm just trying to raise the questions that need to be asked in order to find the solutions that we need.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess a related question is finding hope. A lot of the climate activists and climate movement, a lot of the NGOs right now are finding hope in aspirational targets that look to me completely unachievable.
Yep.
And I kind of wonder if that communication to the public who doesn't understand numbers about energy systems, who doesn't really have a background in how the energy system of the world actually works, if that's spreading hope through delusion instead of hope through actual possibility.
I see it a little differently, because I think about it in terms of social movements. And if you have the radical flank being put further out, if you have people putting out ideas like Bill McKibben saying, you know, we have to declare the fossil fuel sector public enemy number one and bring them to an end, or Naomi Klein saying we have to shred capitalism. I think they're both, their goals will not be met, but they pull the radical flank out so that the center can move. I did a paper with Todd Schiffling at Temple where we looked at Bill McKibben's entry into the conversation, brought the idea of stranded assets into the pages of Bloomberg and Businessweek and Fortune and others. And so these voices that are out there saying, you know, we've got to pull it further. I'm reminded of Russell Train, the second administrator of the EPA, and at the time David Brower was the bad boy of the environmental movement and really being aggressive. And Russell Train said, thank God for the David Browers of the world. They make the rest of us seem reasonable. You move the center of the debate. So those extreme voices, I think, are an important part of the ecology of the debate, because they move the center.
Fair enough. I'm going to read some questions now from the audience, and there's a lot of them, so I'm going to try to go through them quickly. Some people have a couple of them, and I'm going to just choose. Nelson Lee asked, I appreciate your three approaches. However, once we select one of the latter two, don't stock prices drop to zero overnight? So how do you manage this idea of assisted suicide, or whatever we might call it, in the context of the real stock market and investors? I mean, there's no question they're making plenty of profits today,
Yeah.
but what happens to the stock price as this, you know, if an oil company were actually to announce, and some of them have come close to this,
Yeah.
if they're actually to announce that they're going to go out of business, out of the oil business,
Yeah.
what does that do to their stock price?
What will it do to their stock price, and what will it do to their employee base? If Harvard University announced they're going to close next year, the best faculty are going to find a job at another university, and they're going to be gone, and they're not going to help manage the transition. So those are both, the flight risk of both of those are critically important. Can it be done in a managed way? Yes. Can it be done where profits are maintained, where you balance both the revenues and the expenses in a way that profits can be managed towards the demise? Possibly. And so I am not diminishing the question that's there, but if we're held hostage to that idea, then we're doomed. If investors dominate the conversation, you know, Lynn Stout has a very nice essay with a book, as a matter of fact, but also an article with Brookings, pointing out that the whole idea of shareholder value is predicated on one type of shareholder, the short-term, indifferent to the fundamentals of the company. And so, yeah, those people will fly first. But are there other investors, more long-term institutional investors, that may be able to look more at the fundamentals of the company and keep their investment through the transition? That is another way to start to think about this. I don't want to diminish the challenge. of both
Mhm.
workers and investors. But if we're held hostage to that, then, pop a bottle of champagne and party like it's 1999, because there's no way out of that.
Let me ask a question from David Elms. He says, the idea of cutting off the sick limb, who sorts out the sick limb, and won't it just end up being a public problem that everyone's taxes have to pay for? This is, very real in the context of the huge numbers of coal companies that have, for example, have gone bankrupt in West Virginia and Appalachia, leaving behind enormous, not only environmental liabilities in terms of all the toxic cleanups that they were supposed to have money for remediation and now don't because they've declared bankruptcy, but also, of course, the pensions and benefits that their former workers were due that they now have essentially removed through their declaring bankruptcy. So what do we think about the oil industry that employs a lot more people and frankly, all over the world has many, many large environmental cleanups that my guess is are not properly funded at the current point?
Well, just to start with the remediation issue, that's a ticking time bomb that will be going off whether we bring about the end of the oil industry or not. Someone's going to have to clean those up or they become permanently degraded. And again, my example of the Whiting Oil Refinery in Indiana is it's just astonishing. I used to work in RECRA at EPA and Superfund as well. And so I know this problem well, and companies going bankrupt and leaving it on the taxpayer. That would argue that the laws and the regulations on making sure that those accounts are up to date allow that the remediation happen. That's a problem we have, and we have some structures in place to deal with it. I think that the deeper question is, what obligation do we owe to workers who are left behind? And there are some people that say, you know what? We didn't bail out the buggy whip manufacturers. We have no obligation to bail out these people either. And I think that's a very dangerous attitude to have. Even in New England, when they closed the cod fishery, was there any obligation from the federal government to help the fishermen in New Bedford or Gloucester? Pretty much there was not much protection. Canada took a different approach for their fishermen that were impacted by this. So it brings up an interesting question. What kind of protection and relief can we give to those people left behind? I think we're seeing the dangers of not doing anything in terms of their voting behavior. I mean, look at what's happening in West Virginia. Joe Manchin, he really is stuck with a constituency that is saying, look, we are getting destroyed by these transitions that are happening, and you have to protect us. And his voting has reflected that. Their voting as well. If you have disenfranchised communities that feel that the economy is leaving them behind, they have no compunction or no hesitation to break the system. And so how do we manage the transition in a way that protects these people? This is very hard. A lot of them are not mobile. A lot of people say, well, just go where the jobs are. But these people are living in towns that their great-grandparents, their grandparents, their parents, they lived in, want to raise their kids in. A lot of them are not as mobile as those of us who are sitting in Ann Arbor or Cambridge. And so how do we manage that transition? Again, these are not easy answers. There are no easy answers here, but we have to begin by bringing up the questions. And to simply say we can't do anything about it, again, we're held hostage to a system that we can't get off of. And I think that we have to start to think about how to get off that system.
Absolutely. Let me ask a question from James Deneen. He says, are there useful historical analogies for large industries ending themselves? Clearly, you could look at Polaroid and Kodak and industries that ended because of technological change and transition. But can you think of large industries, not just individual companies, but large industries that actually went through this process of suicide?
That's a really interesting question. And we tried to work on this. We thought about, for example, the typewriter industry being destroyed by the computer. And those of us who lived through it remember all the weird hybrid technology that they had. Some made the transition, some didn't. We could talk about the lighting industry, incandescent light bulbs being replaced by LED. We can now even talk about individual companies. I mean, 3M or Nokia started as something very different than they are today. But the idea of suicide or euthanasia or hospice through processes that are not technology or economic based we're struggling, and we would love if people could give us some models to think about, because we had some trouble coming up with some. We thought about Fisher Body. They used to make carriages, and then the auto came along and they started making bodies for the auto. So they became something fundamentally different. We could look at, asbestos, or what's about to happen in the whole area of PFAS or CFCs or PCBs. These are entire industries that got decimated because of the environmental impact that they're having. But the idea of an industry itself, bringing about its end or its fundamental transition, we've really struggled to try and find an analogy. And we were open. This would be a wonderful conversation. Henry and I were talking before the session started that we need business students to learn more about history and business history, and not just the fundamentals of the core on finance, accounting, and strategy. And so it's a great question. And we've circled around it, but we haven't felt we've hit the bullseye.
So let me ask a related question, and this is from Devin Judge Lord, who's a postdoc, and he's a political scientist, postdoc at the Harvard University Center for the Environment. Devin writes, under what conditions can we really expect corporate leaders to care about workers' justice or equity, much less to bring about the end of their business or sector? What incentive structure would lead a corporate leader to dismantle their organization? Somehow they must become employees of a higher purpose than their firm and its profits. Nationalization does this. Are there other options? I note that, for example, BP's announcement about becoming net zero, including their scope 3 emissions.
Some scope 3, not all.
Which
Some scope 3, not all. Go ahead.
Sounds a little fantastical too.
Yeah.
But that's under huge pressure from the British government, right? Or the UK government. So it's not quite nationalization, but there is a social license to operate in Europe and in the UK. And we see the difference between European companies and American companies in that regard. What do you think about Devin's question?
It's a great question. I think if a CEO announced it, okay, thank you, I've just become CEO and my first job is to bring about the end of this company, I think they might lose their job pretty quickly. It has to be done as a group. It has to be done as a collective, which would argue for a role for business. There are other models. Paul Pullman, having stepped down from Unilever, has started something called Imagine. And it's focused on the idea of pre-competitive collaboration. If you have a market sector with tight market concentration, which the fossil fuel sector is, can you bring the CEOs together to move on certain issues as a collective that can make policy easier? Bring certain sectors together, say, let's move on living wage or palm oil or something like that. Is there a possibility here for some kind of a collective to say, okay, we are also human beings, we have children and grandchildren, we do care about the world we live in. How do we use our collective intelligence? And let's face it, our vast research capabilities, our vast economic capabilities to bring about a change. Exxon right now is really doubling down on fossil fuels, but it wasn't always the case. They used to invest in nuclear. They used to invest in solar, algae. They were thinking more broadly. And so,
I don't know, Andy. I think they probably spent more money advertising about algae than they actually did on the research.
Fair enough. But when you look at nuclear, when you look at solar, even climate change, Exxon, before it became ExxonMobil, invested a lot of money in climate research. They were one of the leading sources of climate research in an earlier day. And so they were much more diverse, much less narrowly focused on fossil fuels than they are today. And so, and we think about the pressures that are emerging today in this really rapidly transitioning an economy in which we live, the extent to which employees are flexing their muscles in companies trying to create pressure. It's fascinating that 1,000 employees of McKinsey signed a letter demanding that their partners disclose the carbon emissions of all the companies they do work with. Amazon, Microsoft, go down the list. Young people are coming in right now with a much stronger concern over climate change than our generation ever had. How is this playing out? Insurance companies are starting to address climate change in their underwriting practices and starting to refuse to underwrite certain fossil fuel assets. The market is shifting. And I don't think you want to hang this entirely on a moral argument. I always teach my students, be careful of that, because your moral argument will be different than mine or somebody else's. But are there some pragmatic realities in the market that suggests that there's an urgency to shift here? I think there are numerous levers within the market that you could point to say that there is a systemic source of pressure to try and change the system, and resistance may not be the best strategy.
Mhm. An anonymous guest asks about the tobacco companies.
Yeah.
You know, their social license to operate in the US was rescinded essentially. They can still sell cigarettes, but with warnings that look more and more like some horror picture than like any real warning. I mean, it's pretty, people do still buy cigarettes in the US, but it's not without ample scary language. But of course, they still operate overseas. And climate change is a global collective action problem, or at least a global collective problem. Devin Judge Lord would correct me for that. So what do we think about those tobacco companies who are still operating?
Yeah.
I passed by Philip Morris's headquarters in Switzerland not so long ago. They're still quite happy.
Yeah, I mean, we thought about that model too, and something did bring those CEOs to the table to sign the agreement with the federal government to severely constrain their industry. There was so much pressure brought to bear, and so, but it has to be a global response. ExxonMobil, BP, Shell, Chevron can all drop out. Russia, Saudi Arabia, Venezuela will nothing too happy to fill the void. And so it has to be a global industry response to what is truly a global problem. But you know, the model of the tobacco industry is an interesting one. I don't know what the global governance body that would bring the fossil fuel sector to arrears in the way that the federal government, the US federal government, brought the tobacco industry to arrears. But it is another analogy that might be useful for history to think about.
I wonder if the tobacco companies didn't have such a vibrant international market, would they have even made the deal in the first place?
It's a fair question. Yeah, I can't speak for them. But they moved away from a position of denying the science, confusing the science, and finally recognizing that the weight of evidence against them was just too strong. Is the fossil fuel sector there on climate change? You know, that's the interesting thing. We could talk about Kubler-Ross's stages of grief, and there are many people and many entities within the fossil fuel sector that are at various stages of grief, all the way from denial to acceptance. And all those pieces are, that's, again, if we could pick one sector to have this conversation about, there would be none more complicated, more interconnected than the fossil fuel sector. That's what makes it such an enormous challenge. If you want to get really provocative, we could make comparisons to the end of the slavery industry, slave trade. I mean, if you go back to England, abolitionists use all kinds of tactics to bring about the end of slavery. In the United States, we needed a civil war. There is still slavery around the world, much more diminished, much more sanctioned, but it did bring about the end of a sector. Maybe that is the kind of model we think about. That does raise interesting questions. In England, slave owners were compensated for their giving up slaves. I do not want to make any kind of argument that the idea of the wanton cruelty of one race against another is in any way morally similar to the ending of fossil fuels, but there are interesting questions. Should oil companies be compensated for oil left in the ground? They evaluate their worth on the market is based in part on that oil underground. And how do we think about that? They are also, by the way, in many ways going after smaller countries that have set policies through local or international tribunals, be compensated for the costs of the lost revenues from fossil fuel or climate change controls. Is that something, a model perhaps worth thinking about as well? I mean, all interesting questions.
So we've only got a few minutes late. We only got a few minutes left, Andy. So let me just pile on a couple of quick.
Okay.
One question from George, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Anjaparidze. At the global level, do you have a do you have differentiated treatment recommendations
Yeah.
by type of fossil fuel? That is, do your different analogies of euthanasia versus hospice, does it differ for coal, oil, and gas? I know it does for me, but I'm curious
Yeah.
what you think.
Yeah, I think it does. I think it has to have regional components and different by the different components. On what basis we would make those adjustments with 3 minutes, there's not a lot of time to cover that. But I think there has to be, for it to be just and equitable, it has to be differentiated.
Right. Abhishek Malhotra, who's a postdoc at the Kennedy School, asks, one alternate model that gets proposed a lot is that of transformation.
Yep.
For example, I think BP is a good example of this, where they are investing currently billions of dollars in new energy companies that are clean energy companies.
Yep.
A counter argument would be, so the question is, does that work? Or the counter argument might be, their core skill is oil and gas, and they don't necessarily translate to being a good wind developer or whatever.
Right.
What do you think about that?
You know, a lot of people say, well, oil companies just think of themselves as energy companies, and my response is the same as yours. What is similar between finding and extracting oil, which is no small feat, by the way, refining it, marketing it, put it in the tank of your car? How are those skills transferable to making windmills here in the Midwest? There was a lot of talk, well, you know, we should turn all old manufacturing capability into windmill manufacturing capability. It's like, well, wait a minute. I mean, is it really the same constructing an internal combustion engine as making a highly complex composite wind turbine? Maybe, but I wouldn't make them necessarily the idea that it's a simple transition. But there are other assets as well. It's not just the skills, but it's the financial assets. And to what will they be redeployed? And will there need to be some transitions? Yes. Again, think about DuPont. They started as an explosives and a dye company, and now they're, well, before the merger with Dow, but still they were moving more towards biomaterials. So constantly evolving, developing new skills to address new markets. I don't believe that the fossil fuel companies are immune to that kind of transition. They can do the same thing. They can start to develop new skills and turn that tremendous capacity, because they are also very effective organizations. ExxonMobil, extremely efficient and effective organization at doing what it does. Can that capacity be turned to something else? Yes, if they choose to.
Mm-hmm. So Gardner Hill brings up the question of geopolitics and energy security more particularly. Through this transition, as we've seen, you know, minor hiccups, not minor, but you know, things like geopolitical events like the invasion of Ukraine have caused a global uproar over energy security and you know, making sure that the oil supply is secure. The political tolerance, if we need to be reminded of it, the political tolerance for high-priced gasoline or petrol is minimal. And if, for example, the Republicans take the House and the Senate, I would predict that newspapers around the US will probably blame the high price of gasoline certainly in the top 3 reasons, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you protect that very essential feature, energy security, as you're going through this transition?
I mean, there's no question that that third question we had of the political and social resistance to change is going to be enormous. As we start to think about, you know, supplanting the oil industry, we're talking about political power globally, and to underestimate the importance of that is to underestimate a tremendously important piece of this equation. We could have an entire course on that one topic of the geopolitics of oil. I'm sure those courses already exist. So again, the last thing I want to offer are trite, simple answers. I just want to raise the questions, and with the questions, start to examine the answers that are necessary. But at the end of the day, if geopolitics stand in the way of us maintaining a safe operating system for human and other life forms on this earth, then we are indeed doomed, and we have to start to think about transitioning the entire system to deal with what is truly a systemic problem.
I think that's a very good place to end. It's 1 minute after 1. There are about 30 questions that we didn't get to, and I apologize for that, but that's just the nature of these things. We
If
would
I can
need
offer a
hours
quick
to
thought,
do them
Dan,
all. Yeah.
there's a wonderful quote by the director of a movie called First Reformed, which is, if you've seen it, is a real mind bender of a movie. And he said, a great movie begins when the credits end. And meaning that if you walk out of a movie and want to talk about it, you've got a great movie. I hope all I've done is just stirred some thinking and some conversation. That was my goal here, to be a provocateur, to get people thinking about some very important questions that need to be asked.
I think in that sense, Andy, you've been very successful. Thank you for joining us. Let me remind everybody, this is the final energy policy seminar of the semester and of the academic year. And again, huge thanks to Henry Lee, to Elizabeth Hanlon, to Paul Sherman, to everybody who's been involved, but especially to Amanda Sardonis, who's been really our backbone. Thank you so much, Amanda. Thank you, Andy, and thanks to everybody for joining. Take care.